and bah humbug. Today we'll be making Cajun seasoning and I'll show you 3 different uses for it. Blackening fish, a marinade for chicken, and as a compound butter. First, in a bowl, add 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika. If you don't have any smoked paprika, that's okay, just use regular. But use 3 tablespoons instead of 2 because the next ingredient is 1 tablespoon of paprika. 1 tablespoon of cayenne. You can use more or less cayenne depending on your personal taste. And 1 tablespoon of onion powder. Now we're moving on to teaspoons. 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of white pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, and 1 teaspoon of dried thyme. I never put salt in my Cajun blend because I like to go really heavy with the seasoning, so I just salt my ingredients separately. Now let's make some blackened fish with our seasoning. Here I have 1 bowl with some squash and carrots cut into half moons, and another with some peppers and onions cut into, let's call it rough julienne. So let's blanch our veggies before we saute them. Blanching is basically par cooking something in a liquid. In this case, we're using almost boiling salt water. So we'll add some of the squash and carrots and some of our peppers and onions and let them cook for about 2 minutes. While those are cooking, put a pan over high heat. If you're wondering what I have cooking over here on the left, 1 pot is Lebanese style rice, which we'll be using in this video. I'll throw a link to how to make it in the description and up in the top right corner. And in the other pot, I've used some of our seasoning to make some Cajun boiled peanuts. More on that later. After 2 minutes, add a little oil to your pan and transfer your veggies. Season with salt and pepper and toss it a couple of times or stir. You're literally sauteing them for just about 60 seconds. I like to finish the veggies with a little dried dill weed. Give them one last toss and cut off the heat. Then cover and set them aside. Now let's blacken our fish. First, place a pan over high heat, and while it's heating up, we'll season our fish. Salt both sides. Then season both sides very liberally with our Cajun blend. I used to work for this Creole chef that would say, "Don't tease me with the seasoning." Now add a little oil to your pan, then add your fish and cook it for about 4 minutes on each side. Okay, now that the fish is done, let's make a sauce. This is a very quick and easy lemon cream sauce that I love to use with Cajun food. First, transfer your fish to a plate and set it aside. Then give your pan a quick wipe down with a rag and put it back on the heat until it starts to smoke. Once the pan starts smoking, add a little cream, salt, pepper, and a squeeze of lemon. Let the cream reduce for about 60 seconds, then remove it from the heat. Okay, let's plate up. First, we'll put down our Lebanese rice and pasta. If you want to make it pink like this, just add 1 tablespoon of sumac instead of the 1 teaspoon that the other video recommends. Next, we'll add our veggies, then our sauce, and lay our fish right on top. Delicious. But we still have some leftover seasoning. So let's make a marinade for all this chicken. Just like with the fish, salt your meat first on both sides, then do both sides with our Cajun seasoning. You don't have to be as liberal with it as you were with the fish, so this time, it's okay to tease me with the seasoning. Now add 1 cup of extra virgin olive oil to a bowl, a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 1/4 cup of chopped garlic, and 1 tablespoon of our Cajun seasoning. Mix well, then add 1 cup of chopped parsley. Mix one more time, then add your chicken. Toss the chicken in the marinade, then cover and let marinate for at least 12 hours. These have been marinating for 48 hours. I seared the legs on all 4 sides, then finish them in the oven. While they were cooking, I cooked the thighs on the stove. Okay, let's plate up. And it wouldn't be a Lebanese or Scrooge video if at least one shot wasn't completely out of focus. But why does it have to be this one? Oh well, don't judge me. I've been cooking for 30 years, but I've only been a cameraman for 4 months. It's the same setup as before, only this time I put the sauce over the top of the dish rather than on the plate. There, that's better. But we still have some leftover seasoning. Let's make a compound butter. First, add a stick or 2 of softened butter to a mixing bowl. Then add some Cajun seasoning, some salt, a little bit of parsley, and some lemon zest. Mix it up, and at this point, I would say grab some parchment paper or wax paper. And then I just realized I don't have any. Minor roadblock. Not even a roadblock, just a small speed bump, because the butter comes in parchment paper. So if you're in my boat, which you shouldn't be because you'd have already watched this video before deciding to make the butter, it's time to improvise. First, lay down some plastic wrap, then lay down your 2 butter wrappers. I can't believe I'm doing this. Then scrape your butter onto the parchment paper. You can't see this, but in the script I actually wrote parchment paper in quotations for that line. Spread the butter out somewhat evenly, then take the end of the plastic and bring it up to meet the plastic at the edge of the parchment paper. Spread the butter out somewhat more evenly than I just did. Then bring the end up to the other end and use the plastic to roll the butter into a stick. Twist up the ends and throw it into the refrigerator to harden. Or in this case, I put it in the freezer because I knew I'd be using it again in a few minutes. While the butter is hardening, let's cook our fish. Put a pan on high heat and season your fish on both sides with salt and pepper. No Cajun seasoning this time because it's in the butter instead. Cook your fish for 4 minutes on each side just like earlier. After you flip your fish, you can pull your compound butter out of the fridge or freezer. Open it from one end and slice it accordingly. What I mean by that is according to the thickness of your protein. If you were putting it on something like a steak or pork chop, you'd cut it more thick like this. If you're putting it on a thinner cut or something like fish like we are, you'd cut it thinner like this. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's plate it up. Same setup as earlier, only no sauce this time, and the shot is actually in focus. Our rice and pasta, then our veggies, then our fish, then top it with our compound butter. Usually you're just supposed to do one slice, but I cut 3 slices. I might as well eat them. Wouldn't want them to go to waste. I'm also learning some special effects. You can't tell right now, but I'm standing with a blowtorch 3 inches away from the butter to melt it faster because I was too hungry to wait to record a time lapse. I say it still looks pretty realistic. You wouldn't know if I didn't tell you. The fish was delicious, but we still have some leftover seasoning. Let's make some Cajun boiled peanuts. Click this video to watch. Thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye, good night, and as always, bah humbug.